Hi, Stephen. Thanks again for joining me for another quick video today on what is a really important topic I know you want to talk about. But before we get into it, would you mind giving me a quick introduction to yourself and to Southern and Northern Monitoring?
Yeah, hi Alex, thanks. So my name's Stephen Lord. I'm the General Manager of Southern and Northern Monitoring. Been in business for just over 2 years and in the industry for about 8 years.
Excellent. So we're talking about alarm handling today, which is obviously a really important topic for a monitoring centre and service provider. Specifically talking, you can split that into two real categories, can't you? Alarm monitoring and video verification, which are really two different parts of a big thing. But to go back to the basics and the foundations of alarm handling, which is a lot of what you do, can you just explain a bit more about that?
Sure. So the main thing that we're trying to do is to make sure that we've got availability to handle all alarms that come into us, and that those alarms are triaged properly so they get the right level of attention. And we can handle a whole range of alarms, anything from a relatively minor one like a low battery alarm, for example, that might pop up at any time, all the way through to kidnapping helplines or to panic alarms and fire alarms, which obviously need the highest level of attention. So a lot of what we do is making sure that we're planning, we've got the technology, we've got the right level of people in place to handle those alarms in the appropriate fashion and do that prioritization.
So that's interesting. You mentioned not just an alarm going off per se if an intruder came in, so kidnapping or breaking and entering, I'm thinking of, but actually even if a part of the security system is dysfunctional, for example, a battery going down.
Yeah, we can get a trouble alarm, we can get a battery alarm, and that's been one thing that we've really focused on over the last few months, where we've been investing in technology to help us deal with those better. We've kind of got a two-stage prioritization process. The first stage of that is using our alarm handling software, which automatically color codes and prioritizes each alarm as it comes in, so the operators can visually see, the ones at the top of the buffer are the most important, the ones lower down are lower priority. So the software does a little bit of that work for us. But then when it comes to actually presenting those alarms to an operator and being actioned, what we want to do is make sure that our operators are really focused on those high priority ones, because they could be a real risk to life or property. So one of our investments over the last year or so has been using our electronic virtual operator to handle some of those lower priority calls, meaning there's a quicker service going out there and it's not going to an operator when it doesn't need to, so they can focus on the important things.
So there's a heavy reliance on advanced technology for what you do. It's not just a case of having operators working around the clock to answer calls.
That's right. And of course, we always have operators there at all times. But what we tried to do is make sure that where there's one of those lower priority alarms, it's going through the electronic operator first. And the beauty of that is that it can pick up the calls with a high capacity. It doesn't have time off sick, it doesn't get COVID, and all those kind of things. But we're very conscious that it has to be a customer friendly approach to doing things. And if you're getting a call from a monitoring centre, you want to know what's going on. You want to know what the problem is and what you can do about it. So what we've made sure is that we spent quite a lot of time refining those messages so that when you get the call, you understand what it is. You get a different system if it's going to voicemail, for example, so it's tailored, it knows it's talking to a voicemail rather than to a person. And also there's always the option to press a button on your keypad to get through just to ask more questions and to find out more, because sometimes we find people, even with a relatively minor alarm, they're stressed out by it, they don't know what to do, the panel's making noises at them in the middle of the night, and then they need some help. So we've always got the option of talking to an operator if you need one, but where it's a routine alarm that can be easily handled by the electronic operator, then we use that where we can do.
It's really interesting you mentioned that, because I'm thinking of two scenarios in my head. One as a residential customer, for example, like you say, probably no security knowledge, probably don't know what to do when an alarm goes off, especially if, like you say, it could actually be a functional error rather than, or a false alarm rather than someone actually breaking in. How is this benefiting residential customers first and foremost?
I think the main benefit is you get a quicker response all across the board when you need one. So because the machine can take away some of those alarms, it creates more capacity for the operators. So when there is a confirmed alarm, when it is a high likelihood that there's actually a genuine event happening, the operators are available more quickly. Yeah, to be quite open with everybody, we've suffered through staff shortages like everybody else has over the last year or so. So being able to protect that operator time for the high priority emergency stuff is really valuable. But equally, when it's a lower priority alarm and when you get the electronic operator calling you, you want a really clear, crispy, enunciated detail of what's going on. So you can then kind of be reassured that you don't need to worry about it because it's a power fail or a battery that's a bit low or something like that.
And for businesses, one thing I definitely have first-hand experience of is alarms going off at 2, 3 in the morning when I'm at home in bed, obviously. But I've been the key holder, so I've had to go and respond because my company didn't have mobile security or indeed 24/7 monitoring applied. How is this? How your? I think it's safe to say it's a combination of technology and services. How is that helping business customers as well?
So it's really helping in two ways. The first way is that often we can't get hold of the first key holder because it's the middle of the night and they're not always kind of got their phones by them. So the machine will kind of work through calling the key holder list faster than a person would do. So that if you're not available, pick up the call, number 2, 3, 4, 5 on the list can also pick it up. But also where we've got customers who do employ a key holding service, which is quite popular out there, we have got direct dial numbers into those key holding services. So rather than one of our people ringing up one of their people, waiting for those calls to connect, we say the details to them, they write it down, they type it into their machines and off they go. We use our electronic virtual operator to get that message across to them on a direct line dedicated to handling our calls. And the whole process is quicker. And the idea is if it's quick and it's reliable, then we're more likely to be able to get a response out there in time to find out what's going on and get the situation resolved safely.
Yeah, that makes great sense. So if I was a security installer and I wanted to obviously impart this wisdom with my customers and ensure them that this is the best way to protect their homes and their businesses, what are the real takeaways that you would want to take to them in that kind of situation?
I think a lot of people don't really understand, particularly end users, what professional monitoring gives them. And I think electronic alarm handling is an example of the kind of technology that's been coming into the industry. So people will be looking at, well, can I just monitor this myself on my phone? To which we will always kind of say, well, you can try, but actually that's not the same as professional monitoring, which gives you fully trained, qualified staff to handle your situation. It gives you class-leading infrastructure to deal with situations that happen. It gives you a rapid escalation path. And all of those, the electronic virtual operator is just one of those pieces of the jigsaw to make sure that when we get an alarm come through, it's actioned fast, so you don't have to worry about it.
Understood. Well, Stephen, thank you very much for your time today. Talking about alarm handling, I look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Great, thank you.